Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the 99, where we've got 99 cards and every deck is apparently now a 3. I am joined with some great guests today. I've got Sherman with me, and I've got Auz and Tanner, both from the Rogues Passage podcast. So first off, Sherman, how are you doing?
I'm tired. Let's get me.
I feel that we jumped on a late. I was all hands on decking everyone. Slothy's not available, but I was calling Tanner and I was like, please, anyone want to record this? It's a big news day, right? So I think I think everyone's at the end of work. I'm fresh off a nice 17-hour shift, so I'm going to bed after this. But yeah, yeah, it's a long day, but it's all good. Oz, how are you doing?
I'm doing dandy. Thank you for asking.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, a legend in my own mind. Don't ask for any references.
That's fair. I like that. And how about yourself, Tanner?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I was excited to talk about this. We were the news came out, and I was contacting the boys, and it was just hey, we got to get on this. And then you call me, and the hype is real. It was cool that they gave us a bit of a warning that this was coming too.
Yeah, a little bit of
we were talking about it for a week before this, and yeah, there's lots to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. Before we even get into this, a big topic. We're going to try get through a bunch of it. First and foremost, even before we do anything, where can people find your guys' stuff?
The main place would be the YouTube channel, Rogues Passage. You can find the podcast, the audio podcast, on any podcast player type catcher, Spotify, Apple Music. But we're YouTube based. Come find us on YouTube. We have a link tree in the description for all of our socials and merch and whatever, come find us.
Perfect. Lots of cool gameplay stuff too. You guys edit very, very nice gameplay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. I've had some pretty fun, silly games. One of the silliest games I played for a while was when Oz wanted to play a high-powered one, and he played. He had a Realm Razor loop going with his Asika kind of deck, and he was rolling out some mean stuff. It was pretty cool.
No, I was actually that deck usually gets a lot of hate, and so to play it with you there, Dan, and you to just be like, this is awesome and fun, was a breath of fresh air on it, and so I super enjoyed it.
Well, it was so funny that you had that Realm Razor, you had a Realm Razor loop in it, and then I was playing a deck that's just a land destruction deck. So let me tell you, we weren't playing low bracket stuff.
No, there's the one of the cards that's on the thing, the Gentanaxis Core Augur there as well, that to get rid of people's hands and just all sorts of mean things. I've got a lot of decks in general that have some high bracket stuff. But one really quick thing I just wanted to say, if you guys want any of these cards kind of that are on these new bracket systems and any of the stuff that's about to get unbanned, because it's all getting unbanned, let's go. Go to housecards.ca, promo code IT99. You're going to get a great discount there. Put your new decks that you're building for these bracket systems, obviously, in AI Armor sleeves. If you like what we're doing, support all of us, like, share, subscribe on our stuff. Go over, subscribe to Rogues Passage. They're great. Very, very fun group. And with that, let's jump into today's announcement. So, all right.
I'll read a little bit about kind of just we're on the general announcement. So it says, number one, I expect for many players nothing's going to change, which is kind of the basis of this. If you don't like the bracket system, you don't have to change anything, which is nice. Right? It says, however, Commander's grown as a fixture at game stores and big events. We want to create a common language to help people find well-paired games. And a lot of games people aren't being honest. I've been adamant about that for a long time. Number two, the system, nor any system, can't stop people who are going to lie. People are just going to lie and pretend and try pub stomp. It's going to happen. And number three, this is the beta version of it. So before we even discuss what the brackets themselves are, this is just a beta version of the bracket system. They're going to try fix it. It's a lot to unpack, even with just this small kind of infographic that we got, right? So we'll go in a row and stuff. You wanna take away bracket one here, Sherman?
Yeah, all right. So bracket one you have here is exhibition. Basically, it's for the ultra casual commander decks or anything that we would consider kind of janky. Okay, so winning's not the primary goal here. It's more about showing off and having fun. This is something that I really like personally, because me playing something like my Song Tribal deck, which will never win, has a chance in this kind of field, in this bracket, compared to playing against a regular deck, right? So under the deck building section they have here, basically it says no card from a Game Changers list, which we will go over later on, okay? No intentional 2-card infinite combos, no mass land denial, so like land destruction or, stacks pieces, stuff like that, or no extra turns, and some tutors, or like tutors should be sparse. So they're not counting land tutors or fetches, okay? Like actual tutors, like demonic tutor, diabolic tutor, things like that. But yeah, that's basically bracket 1, which is nice and simple.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. Tanner, you take us with bracket 2.
All right, I'll take bracket 2. It's the core is what they're calling it. The average current pre-constructed deck power level, which I mean average. There is some outliers, right? There is some that they've made that are pretty spicy, but for the most part, what you would see out of a regular pre-con deck that you can buy off the shelf. It also says no mass land denial, like no heavy resource denial, no chaining extra turns, no 2-card infinite combos, nothing off the Game Changers list. It also allows for a few tutors, but it is, I would say, I guess the best description I've heard is kind of like if you, let's say you have just a regular bulk-ish with some higher power stuff here and there, and you just grabbed and built a deck out of what was around you, just like what you had adjacent to your desk, you could probably build a power 2 or a bracket 2 pretty easy.
Yeah. I kind of want to just like say, like, I dislike their, and again, it's a beta. We can't say for sure how good things are or aren't going to be. I just dislike their few tutors. Like, what is a few tutors, right? It's pretty subjective. I think they're trying to go with the spirit of it, but unless you're actually giving like a number, like I would say that there's not much of a difference between those two brackets. I kind of wanted to talk on those two before we move on. Like
they use the number 3 for the Game Changers in the next bracket. I would have been maybe helpful just to peg like say 3 tutors at most or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Or define that.
Or even in the first one, just generally no tutors. Like no, if you're playing a no tutor game, it's just kind of a basic silly game. That's like going to be your big like dinosaur decks where people just want to be silly kind of thing, right? I don't think many things are going to fall into this one category, and like pre-con to 1 is it's pretty rough, right? Like it's just especially not much of a thing, like not much of a difference. Like what do you guys think on it?
I mean, especially with the power creep that has been going on with the pre-cons that have been happening,
mm-hmm.
I don't even I don't know if a pre-con would even fit into a 2, to be completely honest.
A lot of the pre-cons are pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask Sherman what your opinion of in regards to 1, because I think you've got 2 decks. I was telling Oz about these earlier, right? Your book deck, and then you've got your song deck, or like the song title deck. Yeah. And like these decks, your card selection was like primarily something to fit the theme. It wasn't based on like the power level, and it's also probably not focused on I need to win with this deck. That seems like a comfortable description for an exhibition deck, right? Like a bracket 1.
Like I personally appreciate the fact that they have a separate bracket for jank.
I like that.
Personally, because like because of that, I can literally expand and play more like theme decks or jank decks that I want without feeling like I'm not contributing to the game, which has always been the biggest problem I have playing these decks, right? So like I have some Game Changers in these decks. Like in my Song Tribal deck, I have things like Cyclonic Rift. I have Force of Will, because they are names of songs, and that's what I base my deck around. Every single spell is a song title, right? So my trigger is I have to name the song artist, the album, what year it came out, blah 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 blah, because my commander is a bard. So stuff like this, sure, I have Game Changers, but it's still 1 because I have no real win con in the deck. My win con is hope that the rest of you guys kill each other and bring your life total is so low, I can actually swing in for the win. I've played it many times. I've never won.
Well,
but that's not the point. The point is just to sit back and have fun. And I really do appreciate them doing this. And for you guys saying like there's not much difference between bracket 1 and bracket 2, I can tell you from personal experience, there's a huge difference between a bracket 1 where you're playing these janky decks compared to a pre-con. So it is something that I really do appreciate.
Right. And I think one of the things that is to be noted on that is that we'd like to see that sort of difference, because there is a difference between the two, but we want to see that represented on the bracket system so that when people come to the table and they say, no, it's a 1, and there's no, to have that differentiation and distinction between the exhibition and the core.
Yeah, because previously we only had the only language for the structure was power level. It was only regarding the level of power or whatever. Whereas now, the one thing that I want to comment on that I think they did an incredible job of is that the language that they're using is about the play experience rather than the power level. It's about what kind of environment or social experience. And I like the fact that they put 1, 2, and 3 in like, this is your social stuff, and then 4 and 5 are your 2 like gloves off. And the fact that they're putting language, like descriptive language, and that it will only get better from here, right? We're going to get a lot of beta testing, a lot of opinions, and I think that in the end, it should, even to brand new players, they should understand, oh, that's what you're going for. Well, then I'm not going to play this deck because it provides something different.
Something I think as well, like to expand on what Sherman was saying there. One of the things I like the most about how Sherman builds decks is he's always built these decks. Like, he loves a budget deck, but he's always built them to keep up with the people who are playing high power stuff, right? Which means that Sherman has to be sometimes not as silly as he wants to in his building style, because he needs that utility in the thing, right? Like something in a budget place that is going to fill 2 roles because you don't have those other pieces, right? So it would be, I think, actually a lot of fun to see, like, if you don't have to constantly try table police on a budget, it would be interesting to see like what people do with just like a silly deck, just something like I would say a bunch of my group hug decks are probably in this exhibition one, because I'm not really trying to win. I'm trying to make everyone else have like a good laugh, have fun. I'm not like trying to win. I'm just trying to be silly, right? So I think when you, I guess if you look at it that way of like this is the spot for jank. If we look at an exhibition as like, this is self-expression where you don't have to go against the big bads of everything, right? Like, there's no smothering tithe in every deck it's not a heuristic study and everything, right? Then I think that is more like your popper, your budget, your silly decks. You're just like, I'm just trying to have fun with this, right? It's like it's the ultimate, like, have a drink with your friends at the end of a long week, play some silly shenanigan kind of decks, right?
Yep. Totally.
Whereas 2 kind of goes up into the like, okay, there's a little more of a focus theme. I can get behind that. Oz, you want
number 3?
Yeah, Oz, you want to take us into 3?
Yeah, I'll take us into 3 there. So 3 is upgraded. Beyond the strength of an average pre-con deck is kind of how they rate it. So no mass land destruction as well, or land denial. No chaining extra turns. Late game 2-card infinite combos, and 3 game changers.
Yeah, those two, the last 2 are allowed.
And also I would love to know, what's the definition of late game?
That's fair.
They said like anything that's like past like turn 5. It would consider kind of late game. Yeah, like
they don't want to see a turn 1 like Grim Monolith combo.
Right.
Yeah. The one I was briefly watching the EDH Rec kind of breakdown on how they structured their website to accommodate this and all that, and they were talking about stuff like Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood. Those are like, are they both 5-mana enchantments? You know, like it's kind of, you could probably pop that on turn 6 usually. If it just happens to be in your hand, it's like you're not focused tutoring to get it out. That would be reserved for, I think, the next bracket up.
Yep.
But like if they're just in the list, sometimes they happen to happen. I think that's kind of what they're talking about.
And I mean, on this thing, it is totally going by the spirit of how this should be working. It's not, because there are going to still be those bad actors in it that are going to say, oh, I mean, go and tutor for their thing, and they're going to tutor for their win and hold on to it for a couple turns so that it's not so fast. And I mean, that just and so it is really going towards the spirit of it, instead of people that are just playing it off like maybe it's not. And so, I mean, it's going to be a balancing act for everything, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to go to a table and be like, no, we're going to play at a 3 instead of, and maybe get a little bit something better. I do realize that everybody's going to say that theirs is a 3 now, because 3 is the new 7, but
yeah.
I think too with it, right? Like, you guys keep talking about the spirit and stuff, right? I think you have to deliberately go out of your way to try be honest about it, because, like, for instance, one of my favorite decks right now is obviously Rigo. I never shut up about Rigo. Rigo is so fun to play. But I have a Rigo Infect deck, and none of that is on this tier list, right? So, like, it technically would be fitting into, like, at a maximum of a 2, but I play it into, like, high power tables because it's just really fast. They're all 1 mana Infect nonsense, right? So, like, I think you have to try be still honest about it, and not like I think a lot of people are going to be focused on specifically these game changers, right? Yeah. Where, like, be honest with yourself. If you're being annoying, you're being annoying.
Like, sorry, take it away, Sherman.
Oh, so I just want to say, like, they did try to address that, saying that, like, things like, even though, like, your deck might fit in bracket 1 or 2, if you went, like, balls to the wall and it's super optimized and everything, and you feel it should be a 4, then play it as a 4. Don't play it as a 1 or a 2. Once again, they're asking people to please be honest. If you're not going to be honest, fine. That's how you want to be. And you'll probably find that most people don't want to play with you, but they're saying, like, hey, we know that this will, like, a lot of decks will fall in multiple categories. Just, they don't want someone to play, like, a bracket 4 against a bracket 1.
Yeah.
That's all they're asking.
Well, I think that's a great way to look at it, as, like, every time you evaluate your own deck, that's the minimum, right? If I have a deck full of, like, Psych Rift, Smothering Tithe, Heuristic Studies, like, things on this list, spoilers, but anyways, like, these things on this list and stuff, then the minimum is going to be at this, like, the higher power, right? Whereas, like you said, if you have, again, I've seen Sherman stomp me. But one of the hardest I think I've ever been beat is by, like, Sherman's Galadriel deck, $50 deck. And also I have, like, I've got a very, very expensive, like, Angels deck. It's like one I consider, like, pseudo CEDH. It's so strong. And Brando from your guys' show, I was Googling if sleep is a real card. He hits me with a 4 mana sorcery that I'm still not over to this day. I still raise my blood pressure, put me to sleep, tap all my creatures and stun them. Are you nuts? It's
hitting you with the draft chaff. What the heck?
Yeah, you know what I mean. And, like, it's so just because, like, something doesn't have these game changers doesn't mean it can't be strong. So, like, I think a great way, like you said there, is this has got to be the minimum. Play it where play it where it should be. You know your decks and stuff, right? But, like, if you're saying that you're playing ones and, like, oh, I'm going to play 1, and then you have, like, 10 wins in a row, reevaluate.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, on the flip side of that as well, and I don't want to advocate for people using a bunch of the game changers so that they can pop out this win. But if you're going for a strategy that is way out of left field, maybe you need a little bit of extra push so that you can actually make that strategy work. I personally have a deck that is a creatureless deck, and it plays, and the whole idea of it is to animate my land so that I can swing in for the win on it. Which, in order to play something creatureless, you need to have some things that you need to have a little bit more gas than what you normally would, because unfortunately you might just get beat the hell out of it in the first little bit and not be able to play. And so I mean, evaluate what strategy you're actually going for. If you're going for just straight up going for the win, then I mean, evaluate accordingly. But if you've got a jank strategy that's not something that people will see, then I mean, once again, just evaluate accordingly.
Yeah.
I wanted.
So I guess we haven't described the game changers yet.
Well, one second, we haven't got 4 or 5 yet.
Yeah, we haven't even gone through 4 or 5.
So I want to say, number one, I love that they moved away from this idea that they were going to assign like essentially points to things, or like I didn't want the Canlander kind of thing, you know. I don't mind looking at this list and being like, hey, these are like powerful cards, these are salt cards. Like, generally speaking, again, you can build whatever you want with this bracket list, and if your play group wants to play stuff, you don't have to change a thing. But I do like that there's like kind of a universal language. I like that they're like, some of these problems are cards. Like I want to cue the celebrate good time thing for one of the cards on the list. I've been a real vocal advocate for hating it. But that being said, all of the good things I hate 4 and 5. So I was going to take both of them. A big problem that everyone has right now is that like the CEDH is the boogeyman. So you have one strong deck and they're like, it's CEDH. I didn't know we were playing CEDH. I've had people tell me they didn't know we were playing CEDH when I raw cast a Omniscience with 10 mana. No rocks, not a single rock in sight. Right? Like, so I wish there was some distinction, because there's not. 4 optimized is high powered commander, time to go wild. No restrictions other than the ban list, and CEDH is high power with a very competitive and metagame focused mindset. No restrictions other than the ban list. There should be some. Again, I understand it's a beta, but like that's I feel that that's where the pub stomping happens, is because people, okay, I'm gonna play a 4, and then suddenly, well, I didn't think we were playing CEDH. I didn't think you were gonna food chain off and win the game, right? I think there should be some differentiation.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind speaking on that, because I do feel like, you know, I do consume a lot of CEDH content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play it. We have had aspirations of like starting a new series on our YouTube channel. We've recorded some games, and they didn't really go well enough for us to put them out. But I do have like this draw to try CEDH as like a newbie, and like listening to a lot of content and figuring out like the world of CEDH, the mindset of CEDH. It's like the difference. There is a complete and total difference to going into your local FNM and going and playing in a regional qualifier, or playing at the Pro Tour, right? Like there's people that doesn't matter what you're playing, what cards they are, at all costs you just want to like put whatever in your deck you can to win, and everyone else at the table, like in CEDH, they're all on the same mindset, right? I don't think if you actually do have a table full of CEDH players, there's nobody that's salty about what you did, because we're all in agreement that we're playing the most high-powered available things, right? Now, I do agree with you at the fact that there will be people that...
I do want to jump in. That is, I've played a whole lot of CEDH events, and that's not true.
Yeah, I mean,
I've in more than one tournament event for CEDH had people storm away because I've made them furious.
Well, yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, if you are sitting down at a CEDH table, or like if it's, and I don't know, maybe this will help, because it actually does now define CEDH as you are focused on the metagame. It's not about your pet deck. It's not about what you think is powerful. It's about what's winning, right? It's about like just scoreboard. We're talking about the real meta, the real things that win tournaments consistently every weekend, and the people that play, that they are drawn to playing those decks because of their record, because of their track record, right? That's what a real CEDH mindset and like environment is like. And for like my Locust God deck, I know people have like said, oh, that's a CEDH deck or whatever. But it's like it wouldn't hang in the slightest against an entire table that's like hell-bent against interacting with everything you do, right? It usually overperforms because I'm not sitting at a CEDH table. And like I think this will help. I think, because there is high-power decks, like Gloves Off, high power, but it's not putting up results in the world CEDH scene.
But like, so the only issue I have with that, my gripe, which still is the same, is that this isn't for like people who know that. This is for the average player to sit down and say like, I want to play a 4. And what stops me from saying that my net deck list of like whatever blue farm is popular at the time or whatever, what stops me from I didn't think it was CEDH. I thought we were playing optimized, right? It's the like people are always going to be bad, but people also just don't honestly evaluate their decks and stuff, right? Like it's just like if I had $1 for every time someone told me a deck was a 7, I would have retired 10 years ago. Like it's you know what I mean? Like everything has been a 7 for ages, right? And so I don't think people are going to make that distinction. And right now, the saltiness that you see the most is from people getting pub stomped by what they consider CEDH. That's like every Reddit post, every Twitter thing is like, oh, like I was trying to have a fun time, and then someone brought like a CEDH deck, and like not everyone understands that it's like, okay, like this is like a CEDH meta and stuff like that, right? It's that's my only issue is that like there's
it is a niche. It is a hard niche.
To kind of go off on that a little bit, I mean, there's still also the same thing that sometimes your deck overperforms. It performs way better than what it ever has before, and it can surprise you on that. And so sometimes, yes, you're just playing too powerfully, but at the same time, if this deck pops off and somebody gets salty about it because it just so happened to pop off, I mean, so be it. C'est la vie.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to ever control that.
I guess the other thing too that I wanted to say is that like they do say Rule 0 is still going to be king, like you still have that. But I've always thought like just in general, I've always thought Rule 0 should really, really include an after game, like where you talk and just say like, hey, like did everyone feel we were in like the same range and stuff like that. I think the after game is always going to be a better conversation than the pregame because like what different people think are different power levels or different brackets is always going to be subjective. I'm always going to have a different opinion than Sherman or Slothy or Brian or anyone, right? So I always think
the arena. The arena. Did you have fun? The smiley face or the friendly face.
I love that. I hate this game. Like it's so I think that like an after game one could maybe do that. I just like I said, I'm concerned about the optimized and the CEDH tier. Like optimized seems just kind of like free for all magic, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of just play whatever into whatever. I don't care if I win a lot of the time. I just like to be silly. So like, it's go ahead.
But maybe it starts the conversation for people of what CEDH really is compared to not, right? So like you say, like some people will play something and you're like, okay, they think your deck is competitive, but you're like, it's not. Maybe it does. Like having this bracket system does start that conversation and have them determine what should be considered competitive and what isn't competitive. Is it because of the deck, or is it because of the pilot, or is it because of how someone did politics? Like there's a lot of aspects to it. Cause like to my understanding, when it comes to competitive, you're not really politicking. You're trying to win. So you're going to answer things. You're not going to be like, I'm going to pass priority and hope someone else deals with it. No. Deal with it because that affects your stuff.
That's right? All what competitive is. It's trying to be like, hey, can you deal with this and I'll deal with the next thing. Like it's huge politics. Like in-game politics is one of the biggest things in it.
I'm saying if that's the case, then like maybe Optimize is like, you know what? I'm gonna pass. I have the answer, but I'm gonna pass and let someone else deal with it because I don't care.
That's fair,
right?
There's actually a term in CEDH called, I believe it's priority bullying, and it's like, if there's times where people start talking and they say, you know, I have the force of will or whatever, I have I have the counterspell that can deal with this, and the minute that information becomes part of the discussion, other people will then be like, well, I know I can pass priority because I can. Otherwise, the game will end. I can force that counterspell out of their hand because they have to use it. Because if they pass priority, then the game's over. So there is, from what I've heard. I mean, again, I'm not like an avid CEDH player, but it does seem like there's respectful table talk for the most part. Question mark?
Yeah, like I said, it's you do have to still like politics is part of any format game. That's why, in my opinion, like a lot of people don't like this opinion, but it's like there's never going to be a competitive 4-man format because nothing stops one person from just being annoying. Nothing stops me from queuing into a CEDH tournament with a deck that has nothing but counterspells and just choosing to wreck Auz's game. Just nothing. It doesn't matter if I win or lose. I'm just going to ruin the first 3 games I get paired with. And you just pick a player and ruin it, right? Like there's a 4-man format can never be competitive because of that. Cause you can king make so easy. You can, you know what I mean? Okay. Tanner's in the middle of killing me. Well, I'm going to throw a tantrum and I'm going to kill Sherman's best creature. You know what I mean? I'm going to take Sherman is in the winning position. I'm getting knocked out. I'm going to stop Sherman from winning and give it to someone else, right? It's never going to be a truly, in my opinion, competitive meta because of it. Like it's high power. It's fun. It's interactive. It's very flashy and stuff, but it's never going to be the same as a one-on-one, right? You're always going to have to talk to a table of 4 players. Like competitive EDH would never really work. Kind of the same way that EDH on Arena wouldn't work, right? Like it's so much of the game is that conversation that you just can't get by spamming the thanks button or the your go.
Oh, that would be so toxic.
Right?
Someone needs to make a little soundboard or like a little thing to just put on the table in a physical game.
Right. Like so, like
your go.
Like I said, I personally wish that there was a little more distinction between those two things because, again, like different people like different things. They want different things out of the game. But overall, I think the bracket system is not horrendous. I think that it's got more potential than any power level list ever has.
Yeah, and I would encourage one thing that Gavin Verhey said, like if you care about this game and you care about the attempt that they're making to make it better for, I guess, the majority or like the large community, it is a beta, and when you beta test a video game or something like this, like give your feedback, like send it in. We should be like, we're content creators or whatever. It should be our obligation almost to, at very minimum, give our feedback. And I don't know when I'm going to do that. I kind of want to see a little bit like how it's received for a little bit before because I don't know. I feel like I could have suggestions, but I want to wait and see what's up.
Well, like it's still new, right? Everyone's going to have like opinions. It's all going to be hot takes. This is terrible. This is great. I think it's great. I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
It's
no, I feel like it's a good place for them to be like to be boarding off of for it. It's a great start, and we should look at it more so at that way instead of being like oh, I don't like this right off the hop. I mean, it's a beta. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And I said this on our recent podcast episode where I was just like, hats off. Like they stopped themselves from releasing this too early because it was going to come out at Vegas Magic Con like last year. And they stopped themselves and they were like, no. Like we literally have to let this cook for a bit. And we need to make sure that and it looks like they did good work because this is very different than what they originally unveiled.
Yeah.
You know, when they talked about the bracket system at first, it's transformed heavily from that time. And from what Daquan Watson was saying from Magic Mike's podcast, Power Dragon, he was saying that the group, I don't know if it's like 14 or whatever of them that is on the Commander format panel, but they do not all agree on this. They're actually like, there's 2 sides and there's been a lot of trouble coming to consensus. So our feedback will help transform this to its final evolution. You know, we got to get to that Raichu.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what's on this Game Changers list. I actually don't hate the majority of it. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's I'll jump us into our white. So for white we have Drannith Magistrate, and I'm going to kind of talk on each of the cards as we get there. I've never seen anyone enjoy playing Drannith Magistrate. I don't even think Dean enjoys Drannith Magistrate, and Dean's the king of stacks. Like it's just like
it sucks.
It's a card that like specifically hates everyone out. Yeah, it dies to removal, but then again, someone has to remove it. Someone has to. It's just such an obnoxious piece. Again, I think that Drannith is a great thing to get out of like a casual game in general.
Yeah, I believe that it was a card that was developed for a format without a command zone.
Yep. Again, Enlightened Tutor is another one on the white Game Changers. It's probably one of the ones I find the least annoying on the list, but a lot of people tend to use the other tutors that get anything, so I don't see Enlightened as big of a deal. Sarah Sanctum. I also don't like that they put the lands into the color pile. That kind of.
Oh yeah, I sorted by color, and I think the lands are at the bottom.
Well, that's smarter. Yeah. I'm just on the Magic page, but so they've got Sarah Sanctum. I also don't think Sarah Sanctum was a big problem because it's not really an affordable piece.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive, right?
Yeah, I don't think you see Sarah Sanctum in a very again, it's a monster card if it hits the table, right? And budget shouldn't dictate what people can and can't play. So I don't think Sarah Sanctum is bad. To me, it just seems odd compared to what it could be. Smothering Tithe, of course. It's so many people, like they treat it like it's a religious experience. Like it's like they're going to be like punished in hellfire if they don't run Smothering Tithe and decks. You see it in everything. It's like insta sold out when it hits the case. I like the limiting of some of these cards, because like I've talked ad nauseum about how I hate seeing like deck lists that are like 30 lands, a commander, 45 staples, and then like it's just like, okay, here's like 10 other like cards. I really, really like seeing Smothering Tithe on that list, because it's just overplayed. I don't think it's I don't think it's overpowered. It's powerful, but I never pay it anyways. You can have a treasure token, but just for me, it's in every deck. I see it all the time, and there's so many cards. I like a little variety. And then the last one is Trouble in Pairs, which I never really see played very often. I don't know if other metas see it. Like, do you guys see it very often?
I don't think I've ever seen it played.
I've played it in different decks and everything. It's so strong. It's crazy. It deserves to be here.
That's fair.
Yeah, it is kind of the Ristic Study almost. It's of course it's not as good as Ristic Study, but it does a really good impression in white, which is something white needed for a long time. So it gets a lot of play. The thing is, it's fairly new, right? It's 2024.
Yeah, from Markup Manor.
Yeah. So maybe that has some
so
reason why, Smothering Tithe came out in Guilds of Ravnica or whatever, right? So that was many, many years ago. It's probably just the amount in circulation and the amount of its popularity compared to Trouble in Pairs. Trouble in Pairs was only in a commander deck, I think.
Yeah, but Trouble in Pairs overperforms every single time once it gets late game.
Yeah,
because it's like anytime you draw your second card or cast a second spell or whatever, it just goes off every single time. So you can have 0 cards in hand and you pass, and it comes back to your turn, you have a full mitt again. It's crazy.
That's fair.
Yep, it deserves to be on the list.
Generates a ton of value. Fair.
It's so good.
One thing that I will say for white, at least, that I think was a glaring oversight that should be on the list is Teferi's Protection.
You know what? I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see it a lot of times as again, kind of as a crutch building thing that just kind of goes in everything, right? Like, why wouldn't you play it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait till you play some Oathbreaker and it's in the command zone as a signature spell.
True.
Ooh.
Just repeatable.
That's fair.
Just yuck. That's
What color do we want to go to next? Who wants to take the next color, and what color is it?
Oh, can I take blue? Oh wait, you got it?
Okay. No, Tanner, go ahead. You're the guest. You go ahead.
I want to see Dan's head rattle when I say Cyclonic Rift. It's
hang on. I'm playing Celebrate in the background of the podcast. You ain't copyright striking YouTube. You gotta trust me. I hate that song I love the song. I hate Cyclonic Rift. Woo! It's bring me back. Bring it out of every deck. It's horrible. 3 spots isn't enough.
It's not bad. I don't usually mind a Cyc Rift if it just lands the win, but when it turns the game back to like the Shahrazad or whatever, let's just start over from the beginning, guys. It's real annoying.
I hate the card. Nothing in Magic does as much for that mana cost with the different modes at instant. I hate it. Get it out of here.
Yeah,
a bracket.
I would like to
1
say,
and 2 for life.
When I started playing Magic in about 2017 with Amonkhet, I remember getting onto the Command Zone podcast and everything, listening there. Expropriate seemed like it was the boogeyman at the time. Everybody was talking about Expropriate. It was a very, very expensive card at the time. It never really, I don't know, I didn't really see it a whole lot, but yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's 9 mana and it gives you a lot of value, just crushing weight of value.
Yeah.
So yeah, it deserves to be on the list.
Expropriate's pretty, because it's a lot of the time it's 3 of whatever your best permanent is or multiple spells, and it's always in every storm deck that's available.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, thankfully the game would be over at that point, right?
All of my friends play it out. They make me be the bad guy.
Oh no. We got Fierce Guardianship on here. Wait, actually, funny enough, I'm noticing that the Deflecting Swat is not in the red category. Fierce Guardianship and Deflecting Swat were kind of the 2, and Deadly Rollick of that cycle that were really buck wild oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fierce Guardianship and Force of Will sitting here. Makes sense. They're they're both free counterspells. Fierce Guardianship has a gate though, right? Like you have to, it's not free all the time.
Well, the other thing too, right, is
you need to have your commander out, but that's not so hard though.
But those free spells, they do change how the game. Like it's nice to know that they're there because you threat assess different, right? If you know that someone might have free spells, then okay, well, it's not that. As opposed to if we're playing like a silly or like a precon or something like that, it's unlikely that someone's gonna unlikely or straight out banned now that someone's gonna get rid of like my silly card.
Yep. We got Jin Gataxias, Core Augur, a 10 mana flash creature that at the beginning of your end step you draw 7, and each opponent's max hand size is reduced by 7. It's absolutely toxic to play against. A lot of the Praetors can be, but yeah, Jin Gataxias and Vorinclex I think are the worst offenders of that. Misty Tutors on here, Rhystic Study obviously, Thassa's Oracle. You know, like Thassa's Oracle, I get it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, it's not as big of a boogeyman as people think it is, unless it's with like the Demonic Consultation or whatever, like combo, right? It's like, otherwise does it ever really get used unless it's being used in like the total draw your deck and finish kind of way?
I guess, yeah. Like I think a lot of the problem with it is that it's that trigger, right? Like if you can't counter it, removal is not enough.
True. Yeah, and then to finish it off, we got Urza, Lord High Artificer, which I love that card. I love the design of that card. I think it's I respect and love the fact that it is like really scary. But yeah, it's been catching some flack. It's too powerful.
You can't play low power Urza. It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Urza with 3 mana artifacts minimum in the deck is still an annoying deck immediately.
Yep.
Right, like it's Urza's a rough one, but I kind of do like their this is a pseudo return to banned as like a commander, right? Like I don't mind seeing them list some annoying things. They're missing Toxrill. I'll tell you that right now.
No, I noticed that too.
I've never in my entire life I've never seen people angrier than when I play Toxrill. Never has anyone had a fun game.
Understandably so.
I've played Turgid games where people were like, okay, like that was annoying, but like it's not like Toxrill. Toxrill's rough.
I mean, he's got toxic right in his name. It's just right.
It's so bad. Like Toxrill should honorary mention on the list, and I love Toxrill. I got like 3 Toxrill decks. I have a Toxrill deck that's only group hug cards, but it still gets rid of everyone's stuff. It's still at the end of the day Toxrill.
Kind of reminds me of the kind of group hug that, what was it King Kong or something when Jack Black got eaten by those slugs?
Yeah, something like that. It's like no matter how
that kind of hug.
No matter how many tutors I give people, no matter how many Wishclaw talismans, extra draws, they still like having their creatures around. Toxrill's rough.
All right, on to black.
Yeah, who wants to take black here?
Sure. Yeah, we'll jump into black. So first off on black, Bolas's Citadel. Using life as a resource instead of mana, pretty good. Mm-hmm. Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor, totally just the low cost tutors.
Yeah, they're the best, right?
They really, they are. Yeah. Opposition Agent. I mean, I don't see it get played very often, but when it does, it hurts.
I have never seen anyone cast an Opposition Agent unless I'm going to get land. And then people go and take it. Like I keep a hand.
Cruel.
I keep a hand because I'm like, you know what? I got this turn 2 Farseek. I'm good. I'm going to fix it. And they're like, nah, no, you don't. And then I sit and do nothing but seethe for the game. I hate op agents so badly.
Yeah, we were just talking about this before we got on the call here. I have a couple of them in my collection just from opening booster packs, and I've never actually sleeved one up and had the pleasure of playing with it, and I've never been gotten by it. So as much of a boogeyman as I know that it is, I've just not encountered it really in my experience. But yeah,
buddy,
it's Oz. You were telling me about this situation with this other card, right?
I've actually have a friend who plays Malirum, I believe it is. Mm-hmm. And so mono black 3 mana commander that at the beginning of your upkeep, instead of drawing, nobody has draw step anymore.
They tutor.
You tutor, you detutor and lose 3 life. But the first thing that he's going and tutoring for is an opposition agent. So for the rest of the game, he's tutoring and you're losing 3 life. So it can be highly oppressive, just given the right environment.
I said, I see it in response, to me trying to Terramorphic Expanse. I'm just trying to get a basic land, man. Please. I play with animals.
That's just spiteful. I think they're rude. Doing it just against you, Dan, because we know you better.
It's my brother. He thinks it's funny.
I mean, to be fair, it kind of is.
It hurts me deeply.
Fair.
Really quickly, they've said that they're going to do some unbannings in April. So I wonder if Hull Breacher makes it back into this blue section of the list as a higher one.
Yeah.
I honestly never
Free
really...
the Breacher.
Yeah, I never really had problems with Hull Breacher. Generally speaking, it's kind of like with Leovold, right? Like I didn't have problems with Leovold as a commander. I understand that it can be like annoying in like wheel decks and stuff like that, but the tables tend to police themselves, right? You might get one game of that, and then everyone's going to gang up on you all night. You still have to play the game, right? Like it's so. I'm interested in seeing specifically. I would love Leovold because they got such a nice box topper art. Oh, so good. But I'd like to see if Hull Breacher makes it back onto this list of that because of it.
Yeah. And you know what? With those powerful, like once you do a game or two with somebody, the table usually knows how to police itself. And making sure that somebody doesn't run away with it because, hey, the last 2 games you ran away with it.
No matter how salty I act, everyone knows to try kill me. Everyone knows to not leave me alone for 5 turns. It doesn't.
No, that's way too dangerous.
It doesn't matter if I'm like, I don't even have lands, guys. Come on, please.
Yeah, but we know better.
You leave me alone for 2 turns, and I'm like, I have 800 tokens. What happened?
Where did they come from?
Do you swing with them? No.
They're there to impose fear.
Exactly. These are my friends.
So the last 2 that we have on here, so we got Tyrgrid, God of Fright. I think that totally makes sense. And then Ad Nauseam. I mean, when you see someone throw down an Ad Nauseam, it's usually going for the win.
It's very combo intensive. Yeah, like it's you're digging hard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyrgrid is whenever an opponent stacks a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you just put it onto the battlefield.
Yeah, Tyrgrid's annoying.
Yeah.
Card's insane. I remember when that got printed. That was Kaldheim.
A lot of people forget that the back of Tyrgrid is a castable card and an infinite mana sink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can... and it gets brutal if you use it correctly there, too.
Tyrgrid's not fun.
I do actually love that design, though, when they came in with taking like legendary creatures or whatever and having something else on the back where like multiple copies of drawing that legend in formats where you can play multiple of them, that it would actually allow you to like be able to get a castable card off the backside too. It was cool design. But yeah, Tyrgrid, what the heck were they thinking?
I love the I love the ability for them, like the Bergie and like Bergie's horn, those kind of things, like
Harnfell or whatever.
Yeah, they're just like really, really fun extra utility. But yeah, like Tyrgrid, nobody hits the table and everyone's like, "Woo, Tyrgrid's out! Let's go, guys!" It's not a Howling Mine.
Yeah,
my Tyrgrid deck had a Howling Mine. I needed people to draw more cards to discard. Font of Mythos, Howling Mine. I'm trying to group hug here, guys.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yep.
Oh, it was never fun. It was never fun.
I guess we could probably do red and green together.
Yeah, Sherman, you take our red and green here.
Green together. Short. All right, let's start with red. You have Jessica's Will. So yeah, that kind of, whenever it came out, that was kind of obvious. It was so strong.
It's powerhouse.
So yeah, powerhouse. Underworld Reach, same thing, man. Like, it's an enchantment, so already not many people running enough enchantment hate, let alone anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still, Underworld Reach is still probably one of the best reasons to play red in CEDH kind of thing, right? Like what it allows for, the dirty combo lines. And I mean, even, Modern is having a serious issue right now with Grinding Station Underworld Breach with Mox Opal back in the format.
Yeah, because you mill yourself and then you...
People are like, this might be too good. Underworld Breach is just going to be broken forever.
The thing too is that even if it's not broken, even at like let's give people the goodwill gesture, right, and say that they're not being annoying, is really long turns. It just, you know what I mean? It's like, let me get rid of this. I'm gonna cast this. It's long turns. I get it. Like we get it. You have 30 cards in your graveyard. You want to do it 10 times. Just pass the turn, bro.
Yeah,
so true.
Let me die or just pass the turn. Yeah. And I mean, talking about the unbans, probably seeing Dockside get put back into this list.
Mm-hmm.
More
maybe
likely. Who knows?
The other thing too is that like we've said, just because something is on a game changer doesn't mean you're not going to be able to convince. I have successfully convinced every play group so far that I have met, including at events, to let me play Primeval Titan in my Lumber deck. No one has been like, yeah, I only have basic lands in there. It's how you're using cards, right? Like if I'm trying to Prime Titan out of Cabal Coffers, you know, people are going to be a little more skeptical of me being like, oh, let me get my giant mana combo. But again, it's just being silly. The same thing. I would never like say like, nah, Sherman, you have to play your Bard deck in tier 4. Grow up. You know what I mean? Like it's because I know the deck, right? Like if you're able to explain things away, then sure. And I didn't think Dockside, like if you're playing just like a Goblin deck and you're like, I just have a Dockside in here because it's, you know, but when it's like I have Dockside, Deadeye, infinite mana, you die. All right. Like it's a lot of it is how you use things, I think.
Totally.
You'll still be able to, again, I play with so many not legal commanders. I think I have like over 15 like just straight not legal commander decks in any way, shape, or form. So
meeting you guys and like that has inspired me to actually build them, like actually just build them instead of just talking about them, right? Like I feel like I've got more. I'm currently building Rainbow Dash.
Love it.
Like the Brony card.
Yeah. It's like I said, just at the end of the day, talk to your play group and stuff. If you can articulate why you're not going to be annoying, people generally will let you do it. I again have a backup commander if you need to, but I have like one of my favorite decks that I've ever built is trash, but it's fun trash, and it's from when we went up to the face-to-face on the Lord of the Rings pre-release. Brian bought a bunch of boxes, and I was like, hey, can I build a deck out of these boxes? And I just built a halfling deck with like Meridoc and Rosie. And I was like, I'm going to illegally pair these. And it's not a very good deck. I think like there was a delighted halfling that I bought for the deck. And other than that, there's nothing good in the deck. It's just really fun. And if people don't want me to play it, I'll play Samwise, but it's a cool deck. It's a fun theory, right?
Yeah.
That's the end of it. So game changers aside, like still talk to your group, but a lot of these deserve to be here and stuff. Sherman, I'll let you continue, please.
All right, so we're going to continue on with green because red only had 2 cards. So, green, we have 3 cards. We have Survival of the Fittest, which, let's face it, that makes sense. You're discarding a creature card to tutor for a creature card. Yeah, that's kind of broken.
I found it odd because it's like it's such an expensive card. You never really see it. But I guess
I've never played against it.
I guess with the prevalence of like proxies and stuff like that, and again the same thing, like price shouldn't dictate like is a card banned or not. If it's annoying, it's annoying,
right.
And that's a powerhouse card. A green to discard and go tutor.
Yeah.
And what green deck doesn't have 10 green mana by the time you cast that? So you just discard out your hand and go tutor your 5 best creatures or whatever.
Yeah, I don't need this Llanowar Elf anymore, but I do need a Crater Hoof.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, you can always tutor for this next card here. It's going to be Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger. This one makes sense just because of the tapping of the lands and not, stopping it from untapping.
Yeah.
So I can totally get that.
Frosting lands is rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it sits in the same wheelhouse as a Winter Orb, but it's more expensive. But you also get double the mana, so it just propels you ahead so far.
I always, every time I see that card, I think of just like a Reddit post I saw ages ago, and it was just like blah blah blah. Like this one guy in my play group, like he just only plays his Vorinclex Voice of Hunger commander deck, And it just like really frustrating. Everyone's like, who is your play group? Like what monster is putting that in the command zone? I've never seen it. I got a lot of decks and I've never even considered it. I got 3 Toxrill decks, like I said. I have Turgor deck. I've never even considered being an animal like that. That's crazy. That's unhinged behavior, right? Like it's just come on, like please. That's a war crime.
Yeah, that card. Yeah. I personally, it does the groan test, right? Like when a card hits the table, how like the rest of the table just goes, just the giant groan. Like okay,
well, because someone has to invest the like not only removal but the I'm going to skip my turn essentially to remove it.
Yep.
Because like sure, I might not be playing extra turns, but I'm pseudo playing it when everyone has no mana to tap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, continue.
Last green card, I think this one's pretty obvious, is Gaia's Cradle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The house might be a land, but it definitely changes a game in your favor completely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, all the other Gaia's effects like have like a hoop to jump through of like the enchantment Itlamok or like the Circle of Dream Druids where it's a creature, right? Especially if you're saying like avoid land destruction, you can't have these lands in your casual spots.
Well, one of the things that they did talk about was it was specifically mass land destruction, right? Having 1 or 2 things that'll blow up a land here and there, might be understandable. Like having your Dust Bowl or something. Strip Mine, Dust Bowl. Just get rid of, and specifically for getting rid of a Gaia's Cradle or a Sierra Sanctum.
Well, some lands are just annoying too, right? Like it's just
get rid of a Maze of Ith.
Well,
yeah.
Or like a Cabal Coffers, right? Like it's
totally
Coffers isn't on the list, but Coffers is always strong when it comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, I can understand that. They seem a little light on the red and the green, but I can't really like without investing a bunch of time. I can't really think of many things. I think like you said, Deflecting Swat could have been a good contender because that is a strong card.
Yeah, it's strong in the way that it like how versatile it is and like. But it is kind of fun because like you're redirecting it a lot of times. Sometimes you can use it to like do silly things. I don't know. Maybe it's less salty because of that.
Yeah,
not as bad as of. Sorry,
I was going to say again. To me, that makes sense. Like that you would take it, like that it would not be too much.
It's not as bad as a Fierce Guardianship where it's just shuts it down completely. You have to actually put the spell somewhere.
Yeah, I personally think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking like. The Deflecting Swat doesn't end the game, but the Fierce Guardianship can, right? Because it's like this, Deflecting Swat, like once you guys said, the spell still goes through. Fierce Guardianship is just a straight hard counter, right? So if you're gonna win, if someone tries to like destroy something or counter your spell, you can counter it, and then that's basically it, right?
Based on the criteria of like what's on the list, I would have included the card Winds of Change on here, but that's because I'm an animal. And I don't think either of you guys have ever experienced this, but my favorite thing, do not care what's in my hand. Turn 1 Winds of Change is a hand I keep every time. Watching people mulligan down to things that they think is a playable hand and they're ready to go, and then I just bam, Winds of Change. Oftentimes before anyone's had a turn, it's like one of the angriest people get. They glare for the whole game. It's hilarious. If you ever get a chance to turn 1 Winds of Change your table, it feels so good. Like a back massage or like a nice massage parlor is like right under that one. It's I leave. I'm just loosey goosey. I'm like,
I love that.
I feel again, like I said, it's you see people discard like good things, like they're throwing away Cultivates, Lana War Elves, Soul Rings, and I'm like, oh no, sorry, guys. I don't care what the game is. I don't care what the table is. I don't care who I like it. I Winds of Change my wife in one of her first games of Magic when she finally had a keepable hand. It's no one's safe. Oh man, but
no one's safe.
But again, I don't think everyone does that. I think I'm just uniquely a jerk.
No, I will sit in that. I'll sit in that boat with you because that is 100% something that I would do unremorsefully.
It's so funny. 1 red mana to ruin the game for everyone for the whole night. Again, it can make the game take so long. I've seen people draw no lands after that, or like just like straight flood. They don't have any. Oh, it's so great. It's great.
Let me feast on your tears.
Multicolored decks, and you don't get a green for 7 turns. Oh no. Yeah. Oh man, bring me back. We've got 2 more sections to go here. So we have multicolor. Multicolor is essentially only commanders that are kind of on their watch list, high power. I'll rip through them. Kinnan, powerhouse, always.
Yeah.
Yuriko. I don't mind Yuriko as much, but Yuriko is it's always a fast game, right? Like it does what it does. It's pretty hard to shut down the ninjutsu for people. It avoids command attacks, so like it's good.
The avoiding command attacks thing has to be the saltiest part about it, right?
Yeah. Derevi's the same, but like it doesn't hit me for 13 mana pretty like damage pretty easy, you know, like Yuriko's strong.
Especially in a 2-headed giant, she comes out swinging hard.
Yeah.
And so that's
Winota. I've never seen a not powerhouse Winota deck. Like it's like an aggro competitive style deck where you just like hit like a truck. At best, it's always an optimized deck.
Yeah, caught some bans in competitive formats. Just it's ridiculous. It's my kind of card though. I love that card.
As they said in the stream, Grand Arbiter Augustin. I mean, yeah,
totally.
You can't make a fun Grand Arbiter Augustin deck.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my fun. Like I only have like Sakashima, Spark Double. Like, why are you guys upset?
I have a friend who plays a Grand Arbiter Augustine deck, and I want him to hear this. And it's true.
That's a rough one. That's like that one's hard to justify, and I'm pretty convincing. I'm a pretty convincing speaker, especially in person. I'm real joyful, you know. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a great time. Nah, that's a rough one. That's a pretty rough one. And then we've got some artifacts. What were you gonna say?
Well, one thing that I would honestly, and even though I have this deck, and it's probably not it probably isn't optimized. I would say just because of the wording of it, it words itself a lot like the Praetors. Just sell a Blade of Gold Knight.
Yeah.
It all of a sudden it warps the game in your favor so drastically because your life total all of a sudden doubles and everybody else's is halved.
Yeah.
Not in that wording, but
that's how
I mean, it's double damage, effectively double damage to everybody else and half damage to you. Your life total just doubled. Everybody else is just halved immediately.
Yeah. I would say they did a pretty good job with like the saltiest commanders that people see. Like I said, like Urza, I don't think there's a more deserving card to be kind of limited than Urza. Urza's never been welcome at a low power table, right?
No.
So like again, I think this is decent framework. Let's who wants to take the colorless away, and we'll go through that one here.
I'll take it.
Sure.
So we've got a bunch of fast mana. Chrome Mox Diamond, Mana Vault. Grim Monolith is a very expensive card, but it's also, I mean, it's only 2 to put it down, and it taps for 3. It's mana positive. I think they're just kind of like it's well known that these are cards that enable the type of play style that you would expect to be in the higher brackets, right?
And it's infinite.
Heavily. I kind of like the way. At first, I was like, game changers. Why are they calling them game changers? But it is descriptive. Like they really warp the game when they come down. The One Ring is one of those cards that, man, I remember hearing them talk about how they had this card templated up completely differently, and then like last minute they were like, this card's gotta be good. It's the One Ring, and they just like punched the power up, and it's just I think it was getting close to 65% or 70% of all modern decks were running the One Ring before they banned it, which it was so far past the level of ubiquity that they would normally ban a card for.
Well, and in a commander game, its effect is negligent. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, in a modern format or like a constructed format like that, you can. The worst thing they did was not make it restricted, because you could just play another one on top to reset the counters because of the legend rule. So it was totally abused there. I think it's fine in Commander, right? But it is like hot pocket, like powerful.
Well,
right?
there's not
it
the
deserves to be here.
There's not the downside, right? Like losing 10 life in Commander is nothing. Who cares?
Yeah, you have much more life. You have, I don't know. I've died with it in my hand because I was like, I think I have another turn to live, right? And like you hold, and then by the turn you come around, you're dead. But I've also used it to save me on that critical turn. I think it's definitely, it deserves to be here, but I don't know.
Even just playing it early just so that you can have the card draw, it's still worth it.
It enables so much, right? Like you said, the card draw, the protection from everything until your next turn is a monster effect.
Yeah, and then we've got Trinisphere, which is a card that is very annoying, very, very annoying. It makes everything cost. Or wait, it says if it's untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 costs 3 to cast. So it just is a tax on all cheap spells or free spells.
Well, it's so often abused in decks that can tap it, right?
Yeah.
Like Malira, like Urza, those kind of things. Like the things where a lot of these cards they're good, but they can be pushed into another problem, right? And a lot of times when people are running them, they are doing that. Or they're just playing stacks. They're just mean to the table.
Yeah. Stacks or prison, right? Just like the type of play. I think you have to be a little bit more of like a mature Magic player to enjoy being locked out of a game. And it's reserved for, I think, those higher tiers where people are, they've understood the fact that you're taking the gloves off and you might just get completely locked out from doing anything.
Nah, brother, not with Dean.
Tables.
Not with Dean. It's reserved for whoever sits at the table with him. I love playing with Dean, but man, he hurts me with those locks. Dean's a great example of why you need to run removal.
Yep. Yeah, and then we got some lands to finish it off. Who wants the lands?
I think we've been doing the lands the whole time. I'll take the last ones that are in here. Glacial Chasm is again monster card when properly used and stuff like that. At best, worst case scenario though, like in like a Zozu deck, in a what's the new one that everyone plays? The new Rakdos one. Emery has it. Slothy has it.
The Lord of Pain?
Those style decks, right? Where you can kind of negate all damage. Generally speaking, we don't really play a lot of land destruction in Commander even before this. So those are really hard to get rid of. And then Tabernacle, like, again, it's a very expensive card, but it's so obnoxious to play. Like everyone has to pay like 1 per creature or they're destroyed is an extremely rough ability to actually try get around.
Yeah, and then we got Ancient Tomb to finish it off.
Oh yeah, and Ancient Tomb on there too. Which again,
it's essentially
I'm fast now.
Yeah, it's like a Soul Ring in the land slot, and it does a fairly negligible amount of damage to you over the course of the game.
Yeah, 2 damage is nothing.
So we got 40 cards on this initial list, and I think that logically, I think the list will grow a bit. I think that everyone's going to suggest other things that need to be on the list. That'll probably be the biggest evolution that happens in the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
They did say that one of the things that I wanted to bring up was kind of cool in regards to Scryfall, EDH Rec, Moxfield, Architect. They all knew about this beforehand. They had prior knowledge so that they could develop their websites to be ready to go immediately when they announced this. So today I went right away and checked Smothering Tithe on Scryfall, and it shows that it's in that category. EDH Rec will actually show you what bracket you're in based on your deck list and stuff. And I know that whatever they have to do to refine that to be the most accurate representation of what's going on will be the primary thing. But I think it's really cool that they rolled this out with all of the large websites.
Is Architect, you said, it'll tell you the bracket you're in?
I don't know if
it shows that at the top, next to the salt level or something or whatever, right?
Let me go take a look at this.
Yeah, right on Architect it says estimated commander bracket 3 for my my Oathbreaker deck that I put together here just recently.
Once again, that's based on criteria. You should still if you feel that your deck is really, really well optimized and whatnot, it's not gonna be a 1 or a 2. It's probably gonna be a 3 or a 4. Let's still be logical here, right? Don't be a jerk.
I like this estimated commander bracket 3 for my Shadrix deck. I could see that.
Yeah, so this was the big thing, having Wizards of the Coast WotC support for all of this. It's kind of incredible that they have it as a tool of reference that is actually backed up by the tools that we use online, rather than just this ethereal thing that people talk about that nobody could agree on, right? With the power 1 through 10. I love this. I love that there's foundational reference points that people can use, and they can use these digital aids to help figure out where their deck is at.
I like that.
As long as it works.
It's estimating all my Rigo decks at a 1. Let's go.
Oh no.
Let me see. This is...
It's broken. Oh my god, it's broken.
My Kenrith deck, my extra turns Kenrith deck, not my expensive one. All right, that's fair. My expensive one is estimated 4 or 5. I could respect that. That's a very, very cool integration. It is very nice that they obviously have worked much harder than a lot of people are probably giving them credit for, to make sure that these things are getting kind of where they need to be and stuff. Because having this as this this, just like the Salt summary, is never going to be like a be all end all definitive, but I think it's a pretty cool idea. It is really, really funny that it estimates my my Cruel Claw deck as a 1 or 2.
It says 1 or 2?
Yeah, my Cruel Claw deck is like 99 lands, Obosh in the Companion Zone, and Worldfire.
Oh, that's
I'll tell you right now, that's no 1 or 2.
There was a website that Brady was using briefly that was like an AI tool that you could input your deck list, and it would give you a power level between 1 and 10. Yeah. And the thing is, like, how can it know? Like, the Magic the Gathering is such a complicated game. It's not reading the cards, right? It's just working off of general heuristics and like inputs that people have put in. But yeah, like your Worldfire and Obosh, like it's janky, and it's it's a glass cannon, but it works, right?
I am having fun just taking kind of quick looks at like where things are.
Yep.
I like a lot of
mine yet.
A lot of mine definitely sit at that 3 to 1 range, I would say. I respect this.
Yep.
Anyone watching the video is going to see me clicking on crazy decks. What's my Octavia?
It's got my...
The problem is
it's got my Locust got at 4 or 5, which I feel like is accurate.
That's fair. It is not accurately taking into account Infect, because I've run 2 Infect decks so far, like 2 straight Infect decks, and it's put them both at a 1, and they're both annoying.
Once again, this is still beta, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fair. I should be reasonable with that. Estimated bracket 3. Yeah, it's not terrible.
Now, sometimes I think that if it's saying that it's like estimated 4, it might just be counting that you have north of 3.
What's it put
game changer cards?
It puts Toxrill at 3. Yeah. Let's go. Oh, this is very interesting. If you for anyone looking at the video and stuff, really quickly, in the card, there's actually like a little diamond in the corner of anything that is
game changer.
Considered game changer.
Game changers.
So I
this
can,
is on Architect?
Yeah, I can very easily see that Bolas Citadel is 1, Manavolt is 1, and then do I have any other ones in here? No. Yeah, I like that.
Oh, I see. Little yellow diamond on the top corner, yeah. Gold.
Very, very easy to pick out like what is or is not. I like that. I respect that.
I love it. I think that they like having the support of the general like web page, like the digital deck list community right off the rip. Like it took a bigger organization to roll it out like this, right? The Commander rules committee prior to this was, I don't think they were equipped to do something of this size, right?
Well, exactly, right. They didn't have that support, and this is across the board. Just from the get go, this is how it is.
It just shows me how much that Wizards is trying to show everyone that they do care. They do want this to succeed, because like for them to coordinate with so many people and groups and organizations and all that stuff, like it's a big undertaking, right? And for every single one of them to keep this under wraps, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, they used EDHREC to like for data, like the salt scores and stuff, and with like the ubiquity of certain cards. I know that they were actually on their video, they were looking at the like Smothering Tithe. It came out the gate. Smothering Tithe was in like 40% of all decks on EDHREC that could play it. but it has gone down to 25%.
Yeah. So they have the video, but they also have the article on them explaining everything with all the pictures and everything on EDH Rec. So like they explain all the brackets and everything, but they actually show the data for how they for the game changers. Like I think it was 40% of decks use zero game changers on average, and then even if you went up to one or one game changer, what was it? Let me look at here. One game changer, that brings it up to close to 50 or a little bit over 60% of all the decks on EDH Rec.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows you where they came to the conclusion of 3 game changers and why they say at this point in time, this is where most decks will fall under. Anything past that is bracket 4 for optimize or CEDH for bracket 5.
Honestly, I'm a very big fan of this in summary with that salt score. I think it's nice.
It's helpful. And the Gavin Verhey made a point of saying that. He's like, this isn't it's not the Bible or whatever, right? It's not this is how it is. It's this is a tool, and you and your play group and the people around you can choose to use it. But if people are looking for a tool, something to help with matchmaking, mm-hmm. This is a foundational tool that people can use.
Well,
so I think, bravo.
The thing is too, I'm already seeing some decks that I already know that my infect decks are not welcome at a table 1, right? The same with Campbell, the what's the card's name? The Profiteering Mare. I think that card really, really overperforms. So I would never play it estimates it at a 1 or 2. I would never play it into a 1 or 2 because I've just found that it does a lot because of its token doubling, right? So again, it's like we said earlier, right? You have to honestly evaluate your own deck too with it. But as far as the utility of the tool goes, I like this rollout. I don't have much bad to say about it.
Yeah, I like the fact that they did take their time. We do know that they increased the size of their committee or whatever. They took their time. They're having discussions. They're reaching out to the community. They're asking questions. They're doing what they can. And for a start, I think they've done a really, really good job. I hope that it does get better, and they do improve it. But everything's looking good. I remember back in September after the bannings and everything, and then the rules committee steps down and then Wizard takes over. A lot of people were afraid that this would go and be a huge massacre. But you know what? They're proving a lot of people that they do care, and I appreciate the fact that they did put in a lot of effort and a lot of time into coming up with a lot of these ideas.
Yeah. My final thought on it is this does make me still hopeful. It again, this is support unlike we've ever seen from the actual Wizards and stuff like that, right? This is across everything, unanimous support for it. Commander Pro Tour's coming, boys. Come on, I need a new job.
Oh, you'd make a brilliant commentator.
No, I'm too mean. I'm way too mean. I would be canceled day 1.
Hey man, that's the kind of show I want to watch though.
Anyone else have any final closing thoughts, or are we wrapping her up here?
Yeah, closing thoughts would be it for sure is a start. I do encourage people to give their feedback. Make sure it's calculated, I guess. That's why I'm going to wait just a bit, see what happens. But I think that the best thing we can do, I'm sure that the card list is going to grow, the game changers. I'm hoping it doesn't spiral out of control. Oh man. And they're going to unban Mana Crypt and Dockside, and people are going to be so mad. Because there was people cutting up their Jeweled Lotuses. There's people burning their Mana Crypts. Do we want to address that? Do you think that it would be let's say in 6 months, if they bring Mana Crypt, Dockside, Jeweled Lotus back into the format, put them on the game changers, what do you think about that?
6 months, brother. That's happened in April.
I think they'll do it.
They
did say April.
They've said specifically that they're unbanned in April. Those cards are coming back for sure.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
Coming back.
Wizards plans its sets years in advance, and Jeweled Lotus isn't something they just abandoned for fun.
No, they did. Yeah. They didn't want to do it, right? They were informed, and they were like, "I don't think you should do that."
That's coming back. Bracket 4, baby.
Actually, you know what? Here's a question: of all the cards that we have mentioned, is there one or two cards that you think we will see in the game changers that you would like that we have not mentioned yet?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you guys think of anything?
Honestly, I think the other Jintan Axis is another hot take on the counter one. Yeah, copying instant sorcery artifact and then countering the first instant sorcery or artifact that somebody else plays. I think that's the one that's going to go up there, is because, I mean, hard to get rid of. My goodness.
Yeah, that card sucks too. I could see stuff like that going on there. It seems like just like all the Praetors are going to make it on there.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, Toxrill deserves to be on the list.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll see how it evolves.
I would like to see the Kira Great Glass Spinner on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's so annoying. Or you know what? Decree of Silence would be nice.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Decree of Silence, Ruined Halo, or something like that, where it's just that card doesn't affect me, or it's just never gonna hit the table.
You know what? I'm scrolling through this list of saltiest cards to see if I missed anything. Narset Enlightened Master should be on there too. I've never had fun against that commander.
That was the first commander I ever built.
Yeah, I bet it wasn't fun. I bet it was.
The funny thing was, I just wanted to build a commander deck around Jeskai Flicker combos, like the Kiki Jiki Pestermite kind of stuff. This was how new I was to commander. I built a creature deck with a commander that exiles all everything but non-creature spells. So like all of my creature combos would just get exiled as I was attacking with her, and I was like, this doesn't work very well.
Fair.
I definitely didn't have it tuned out with all the extra combats and stuff.
I did see one other one. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Triumph of the Hordes on there. Triumph of the Hordes is a card that it always ends games. It is a powerhouse card. Like I have it in a bunch of Rego decks, and that's usually like what I kill people with in Rego decks, and those are trash decks. So like Triumph is pretty good, but I think that they did a pretty good start. Like I agree that the other Jin is pretty mean. Like I said, Toxrill's pretty mean, but all the Praetors are always going to be like Shoulder of the Apocalypse is kind of mean.
Yeah, Orcish Bowmasters.
I'm looking at this list. I thought Winter Orb was on this list, but it's not.
No, Winter Orb's not.
Oh.
But no. Winter Orb is caught up with their land denial, right?
Mass land denial.
So that's why they were able to kind of get around a bunch of those things. Although they kind of feel like they should be named, or
like Armageddon, Catastrophe, and Decree of Annihilation.
But I guess they have. I guess that way they don't have to try and like make it a 90 card list, right? They just say like blanket, don't be annoying with this.
Because at the same time they're also trying to deal with combos that do like land denial. So like microsynth with Karn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't be like, okay, microsynth is like on a game changers along with Karn, right? So to do that, they're like, okay, no mass denial or resource denial, and that should cover it. Because let's face it, that's just mean.
Yeah. I mean, I guess looking back at this bracket thing, the 1, 2, and 3 they do say no mass land denial. So basically everything within the casual side, Winter Orb is technically banned if you follow this. And then in bracket 4 and 5, something like Winter Orb is on the table. And at those levels, I can see it.
You know what? One of the things that I do see that it says no mass land denial, but I feel like card denial might be worse.
Yep.
Of just like it. I know that like Realm Raiser and that sort of thing, getting rid of lands is something that people don't like. But if I play a Sire of Insanity instead, where at the beginning of each end step everybody discards their hand, that's way worse.
well, maybe that's going to be something that a lot of people will bring up, and they will add that to like tier 1 and or bracket 1 and bracket 2, and and leave open for bracket 3 and bracket and upwards, right? Who knows?
Yeah, I said, I'm hopeful, but based on what I'm seeing, I'm very hopeful. I love to hate on the rules committee because I'm not a big fan of the rules committee in general, but I'm hopeful. This wasn't horrendous.
If I have a question to close it out, does this change how you build your decks or play currently in any way?
No, I build like an idiot. Everything I build is bracket 1. I got no time for all those cards now.
Sherman, do you think it'll change how you build decks?
No, I already like I've convinced my play group for the most part already to avoid like infinite combos, just because it's for obvious reasons. We already avoid doing things like putting in Cyclonic Rift unless there's a certain reason why, and for the most part, most of us try to build more on budget anyways now. So like none of this affects us. It literally comes down to the fact that we're already doing this, and now that we have the support of Magic to like be like, hey, you know what? Like do it this way. Like we're already going that direction. It's not really going to affect us because we're already doing that. So yeah.
I love the idea of saying I want to play some ones, just some silly stuff.
Yeah, you're a bit of an exhibitionist.
Yeah. Exactly. Reveal the hand.
Well, I mean, here's hoping everything's going to go well. Like, thanks for having us. I definitely was excited to talk about this. I was thinking about it all day at work.
Yeah. Thank you guys for jumping on.
Thank you.
Of course.
Let me, bam, hit the outro music. Thank you guys for getting through this ramble. I want to know what people think about the brackets. Like, let me know. Send us Instagram messages, comments, anything like that. What do you guys think? Should other things be on this list? Is there too much? What do you think of the list? Like I said, I think it's pretty balanced. I think all of us are fairly optimistic, but maybe you hate it. Maybe you think that it's wrong. Maybe you think Cyclonic Rift should be in all the games and we aren't friends. Who knows, right? Like, share, subscribe. It really, really does help us out. It's a great way to support us. Go above and beyond that and go to Patreon. Come build decks with us. Very, very cool place. Very, very cool patrons. And then above that, even more, go like Rogue's Passage. They're great. They're just great fans of the show. They've always been fun. We've been to lots of events with them. They're personal friends of ours. Like, they're wonderful people. So definitely go support them. houseofcards.ca, promo code IT99 for any of the cards you want that are coming off the ban list. And brother, they're coming off. Get your Jeweled Lotuses now. With that promo code, please, come on, I need this. And then also AI armor sleeves for anything like that. They've got really cool new sliver ones, and I must have them because I have like 5 sliver decks. And that's it. I let people have a little bit of music. We say goodbye, and thank you all for being here with us. And thank you guys for recording so late at night with us.
Oh, of course. I was going to say, hey, Linda, if you do get another batch of those AI armor sleeves, I want some. They're great.
I will nag AI armor. I do need more. AI armor, send me guild sleeves.
He's ordering them all for himself.
Yeah. I make too many decks. You can't have too many decks without sleeves. Bye-bye.
All right, later.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, my office